All right. So we're going to keep the chat at the bottom right of the screen here because I want to see what other people have to say about this. But this is a quick little review of the recent Age of Empires 2 patch in August of 2022. If you remember, I made a video 6 or 7 months ago shouting out how there was a roadmap that was promised and never delivered upon by the Age team very quickly. Seems like they listened. They did release this roadmap, which had some things planned for summer. So seeing as we just had the patch, let's just review that. Rematch, shortcuts, in-game ranked map pool voting, and then balance changes. These are the things to remember. We'll talk more about this stuff later on. I was a little underwhelmed with the whole roadmap. A lot of it's pretty vague, but let's see if they added the summer stuff because some of those features sound cool. Let's see. So, first off, there's an event. Dress to Press event. They always have these little events where you can do different things. So I normally skip past those things and don't talk about it much. Rematch, shortcuts. Now, I don't know if we'll be able to edit any of this stuff in to show you guys how it works, but I did test this earlier today. It does also say it's beta, so I'm sure they might need to make tweaks to it at some point, but basically after you finish a match, you have an option, a little prompt, to opt into a rematch. Now, when I tested it, the person did not want to rematch me, sad times, so I don't actually see what happens after you both press yes. So again, we'll probably get some more information out on that. But it is there, and I think that's really cool. The amount of times that you play someone, and then you go for a rematch, and then, you'd like to rematch, and then you have to be in queue for another 5 or 6 minutes just to get the same person, at least at the higher level, is ridiculous. So it's a good time saver. Also, I love good rematch stories. I feel like that's something that I've missed out on as a caster. One person gets beaten by this strat, then are they going to do it again? Yada, yada. Also, in-game ranked map pool voting. Now, I have not looked inside the game to see where this is. If someone knows exactly where this is, that would be fantastic. I don't know if there's a pop-up. I don't know if it's in news. Ranked mode directly in-game. Similar to events, a dedicated button will appear in the main menu each time a new vote is taking place. Gotcha. So there's going to be a separate pop-up window that will appear when the voting is taking place. The voting is not open now, so that makes sense. Then they optimize some things, and then it says a huge list of fixes based on your feedback. Okay. So, there's always a lot of things they do with these patches. I like to skip over some of the small event stuff, even though that looks kind of cool. I skip over that. I skip over some of the challenges. I skip over some of the questions. This is probably, hey, we fixed small bugs. We fixed this. Pathing should be better. This is normally what this stuff is. It says fixed an issue where players could get stuck in the main menu screen after accepting an invitation and successfully joining a match. Gotcha. So that's a bug. Now, what would be great is if we didn't have to make a party every single time for every single online game. I'll talk about that more later. But again, most of this stuff is probably stuff I will skip past. There might be some big things, though, so I'm going slowly. Games can be found now properly with the refresh button. Okay, so just like small bugs. But let's get to balance and gameplay if we can. Again, these are mainly bug fixes. Lots of campaign tweaks. Spend a lot of time on that. You see very long list. And now we want to get to civilization balance. They fixed the pause bug. Ooh, awesome. Yeah, so I actually, thank you for saying that in chat. Because like I said, I can go past things from time to time. I was told that they had fixed it. And I don't pat myself on the back for a lot of things, but I'm patting myself on the back for that because I was the one who was complaining about that for the last 2.5 years, and they kept saying they couldn't reproduce it. So I had like all these theories on how it actually worked because obviously that happened to me dozens of times while casting tournaments. So I'm going to give myself a little pat in the back, give them a big pat in the back for actually testing my theories and finally fixing that. Okay, so Civ balance. There's been some big changes here, unlike someone just said in chat. So crossbowman research cost increased from 125 food, 75 gold, to 175, 125. This is something I've been vocal about. I had said like 150, 100. I had talked about like different tweaks to nerf crossbow play a little bit because not only was the crossbowman upgrade one of the cheapest in the game, but like early Castle Age crossbow is ending a lot of games at a high level. So it's a delicate balance you have to have. I'm okay with this. I am a little scared about this, right? 2 different changes nerfing foot archers in the same patch seems like a dangerous route to go. However, early Imp Arbalest is also very deadly. And, I think like the thing with the pro meta that has become a problem is let's just abuse the market, buy and sell everything we can just to get the crossbow because it's so cheap and it does so much damage. I think in theory you have to have like more economy now. In theory, you might need to switch into some other units with the Arbalest. Again, I'm a big fan of this. I think there's a slight chance that this might be changed in the future, like 6 months, a year. They might say, "Ooh, maybe we overcorrected." But I'm fairly happy with this change. This we'll see. If you think about it, in the Imperial Age, 100 extra food, 100 extra gold isn't the biggest deal. We'll see. Dark Age, Feudal Age, Stonewalls, HP increased from 900 to 1080. It's basically, this is just increases on Feudal Age Stonewalls purely because of the map arena. Enough arena players have been complaining about the whole tower rush meta. The devs are in a tricky spot because they want the Stonewalls to increase from Feudal Age to Castle Age. Like, you don't want to have 1800 HP Stonewalls in Feudal Age because then Stonewallings were back in the Dark Ages, like 2017, where you could Stonewall everything and it could never be punished. So I think they're just trying to increase it so Arena is a safer place for clowns. We'll see. Elfin Archer has its cavalry archer armor increased from -7 to -4, resulting in less bonus damage from skirmishers. So this is a tricky one. I had a game recently in my extras channel where you saw how insanely strong the Elephant Archers are. The thing about Elephant Archer, in all the different situations we've had them, remember they used to belong to Indians, and then there's been many changes when they're with Indians and now with the 3 or 4 civs that have them. It's a strong unit if you get it masked. Like, no one's questioning the strength of the Elephant Archer as much as is it worth it at this stage or early stage. Like, a lot of the Elephant Archer civilizations, they're lacking a lot of other things, and they'll play at a point in a game where they're just dying because Elephant Archers are too expensive. So this makes the unit stronger, and this makes the unit cheaper. So the devs really want to see more Elephant Archers, and it is a slippery slope like all high HP units. I'll be curious to see how this goes. I don't necessarily think it like makes it super strong, but it makes it more viable, so we'll see. Armored Elephant line is now affected by Siege Engineers plus 20% bonus damage. This is actually okay with me. I think it makes sense too, right? To have like, additional upgrade for Siege is good. I understand Armored Elephants can seem very strong at times, but I think unless you're Gurjara Elephants right now, they did need a bit more simply due to what they cost. Because they cost a lot of food and they cost a lot of gold, and like that is a lot harder to make combined with army than a regular siege ram might be, which is wood and gold. So I'm okay with that. Starting resource and villager bonuses no longer disabled in Empire Wars. Affects Aztecs, Chinese, Huns, Incas, Lithuanians, Mayans, Persians, Sicilians, and Gurjaras. Okay, so this is a change that they're making prior to the Red Bull event because they want Empire Wars to be a little bit more dynamic. This will be more of a talking point there. I'll skip over it for now, as that could maybe be like a whole separate video. But that is an interesting one, and I'm personally kind of a fan of that. Like Lithuanians. I think what this means is like Lithuanians get their 150 food starting in Feudal Age, correct? Starting resource and villager bonuses no longer disabled. Yeah, so I believe like Lithuanians typically start with plus 150 food. That's a good example. Mayans will get an extra vil. Chinese will get 2 extra vils. But I think some of the changes are weird, honestly, from an Empire Wars perspective, because there was a time where they changed it for Chinese for a reason, but we'll see. Okay, age advancement bonuses are correctly applied from starting age, only other age, dark age selected. Wait, what? Age advancement bonuses are correctly applied for the starting age only when an age other than dark age is selected. Does this mean if... So you start in feudal. Ethiopians start with plus 100 food and plus 100 gold. Bengalis would start with additional 2 vils. Dravidians would start with plus 200 wood. Again, this is an Empire Wars thing. They're trying to make Empire to change Empire Wars. And okay, the final one here is minimum buy price for all non-Saracen civilizations with guilds researched is reset to 23 instead of 25. Interesting one on there. I don't know why that's on there, but doesn't make a big deal to me. Okay, so this is where this is where things get a little bit funky, okay? You might remember this bonus from the Slavs. They used to have a unique tech called Orthodoxy, which would do this very thing. Bengalis just simply get that bonus for existing, right? Their monks have a lot of armor, which means that their monk play, I'd have to double check their tech tree, but their monk play can become quite strong. Also, Bengalis already, if they had a situation they were strong, and I know there weren't many situations, it probably would have been Arena because because they get +2 villagers when arriving to each age, and on Arena you can take advantage of that quite nicely. So I think this puts Bengalis up there on Arena. They get all monk upgrades except Heresy. And then they're also, their elephant archers are always quite strong. So, like, I don't know, like, monk elephant archer is still going to be a little awkward. But I could see, I think it's going to be very ridiculous. But I'm really looking forward to seeing some clowns spam some monks just to see how these things are going to do. Britons receive access to Treadmill Crane. No one needs to freak out about this. The only reason that Treadmill Crane is being given to civilizations is to balance out Deathmatch. Deathmatch is a game mode majority of our player base doesn't play, but you start in post-Imperial Age where you have access to every tech, and Treadmill Crane is like a massive thing to have in DM. In fact, like civs that are really good in Deathmatch have had Treadmill Crane taken away in the past. This is the same thing. I think some of these civs are just being buffed by receiving it. Burgundians, I think they're going the right direction. I still think that they have not gone far enough with this civ. The Coustier change, the charge damage, was reduced by 25 to 20. That's a good change because that unit's insane. The elite version, charge damage reduced from 30 to 25. That's also a good change, you know, if you want to weaken the unit, which I think is maybe needed. But I think the big thing about the Burgundians was always the economy. It says economy technology food discount reduced from 50% to 40%. Can someone do the math on what that would be for some of these techs? Like what a 10% tweak would actually end up doing? Like when I think about the Burgundians, it's a civilization that was introduced and you could research your eco upgrades one age earlier. And there was no discount. And people were just starting to figure it out. And then the devs were like, oh, no one's researching it all right away. Hurrah. And I felt like it was very reactionary. And it was very like, hey, we just released a DLC. Ooh, people want to pay money for this. Ooh, let's make it super strong. And that's why they made the tweak. I honestly felt, even when it was full price, that it was a really interesting bonus. And while we would still see it a lot, like a lot of players would research it while they're on the way to the next stage. So you get it just like a minute or two earlier. That was quite nice. If it was me, I would have said go to 25%. I would have said 25% instead of 40. You're still able to get access to eco upgrades an age earlier than your opponent. On closed maps, that's insane regardless. We'll see what happens with 40%. But yeah, I don't feel like a 10% change. Like this civ's not just strong because of the things listed here. I think a 10% change is just like too little. Anyways, Byzantines receive access Treadmill Crane. That's a deathmatch thing. I didn't know this was a thing here with the Cumans. I didn't know that they would get more food. This is the first I heard about this. So good they fixed that, I guess. Dravidians receiving Bombard Cannon is a good change for the Dravidians. They have felt very, very awkward to play without Bombard Cannon. I mentioned many times how they feel similar to Japanese with like infantry archer play, but lacking good siege options. This will probably lead to them playing into a lot of skirmishers and arbalest and bombard cannons. The thing I'm not a big fan of, and I understand that like we have so many different civs and we end up still seeing knights and archers a lot. I just kind of felt like it had some unique things going with the Dravidians that they could have played into, and instead of like, I don't know, instead of trying to tweak other aspects of the Civ, like, I guess they did. To be fair, they are changing the Elephant Archer as a whole, so maybe I'm wrong on that. But this is probably like a really good Band-Aid to put on the wounded Dravidians to make them a little bit stronger. All right, Gurjaras. So this is another, we've got a couple things here. I mean, the next two are just massive ones to talk about balance-wise. The Elite Shrivamsha Rider full agility recharge time increased from 15 to 20 seconds. Okay, so let me preface this with, I think that the quote-unquote dodge mechanic is one of my least favorite additions to our game ever. I understand I'm coming off like an old man. Oh, we hate change, blah, blah, blah. But if you look up the definition of dodge, the Shrivamsha doesn't even dodge units in the first place, right? It's not like it's moving away from the arrows. The arrows clearly hit it. So I don't like the dodge aspect. But I do think that the charging time change is good because it means that they're not going to like full charge up their shield or whatever as quick, which means they will actually take more damage. Mounted units, additional bonus damage reduced from 50% to 40%. I still think they could have gone further on this bad boy. So you've got, remember, this applies to their elephants, which I've established in videos are absolutely ridiculous. Castle Age elephants with 50% are melting TCs as fast as Siege Ram. Like, and I did the math with it with Nikov, and I think Siege Ram is like slightly faster, but a Castle Age elephant is melting a TC as fast as Siege Ram. 50% at 40%, that's not going to make a big difference. It's really not. And then you have the camels that are already a unit that relies on bonus damage, but then they're doing 50% more bonus damage. You can't make archers against the camels because the civilization has the Shrivamsha Rider. It's very tricky. Gurjaras are still going to be busted, I think. You could see that they changed something with the cost. Did it say 850 and 500 gold before, but that wasn't what people were paying? Okay, anyways. They also changed the way the food income was calculated. So, you know, math is fun, right? We all know I'm a mathematician, but I'm going to skip over most of this. Essentially, this, from what I have heard, okay, so hold on. What's the sentence say? Garrisoning all of the players' own herdables on a map with standard resources now grants 15% less food income than before. Okay, so that's good math that they put there. It's still a nice food source, but it's just not as strong. And also, I don't think it is as strong if you were to like have 100 plus sheep on the map. Well, obviously it wouldn't be, but I think like it doesn't scale quite as crazily as in the past. There was also a weird bug where like they fixed the bug in the testing patch, which it was funny. If you had like 10 sheep and 10 mills and you had one sheep in each mill, it brought you in food way faster than if you just had 10 sheep in one mill, but they fixed that. Okay. And then it's this fiction issue where Shrivamsha Riders could not dodge the nearby blast damage of projectiles. So they didn't say anything about like Shrivamsha's dodging like melee attacks. Like there's this weird thing where Mamelukes don't do damage to them because Mamelukes like a ranged melee. You know, I just don't think this. I think Gurjaras is still going to be like super bannable from the Chakram Thrower to the bonus damage to the Shrivamsha Rider to their eco. I think that this civilization still needs a bit more of a nerf. Now, Hindustanis, this is interesting. So they reduced the Ghulam HP. The Ghulam was like, remember the Civ when it was Indians was already very strong, and then the devs added 3 bonuses to them. Like 3, well, even more than that. They addressed the hand cannons. They gave the civilization better blacksmith upgrades for their stable units so they can spam hussars and be more successful there. Then they got the Ghulam. And then they got the Siege Elephant. So a lot of things. This is good. I think the Castle Age Ghulam was a bit too strong. I'll be curious to see how Elite Ghulam performs now. I think it's definitely at a point where Ghulams become more situational with the loss of HP. So I applaud the devs on this choice. I also had suggested and really agree with this choice. This civilization has faster attacking camels, best camels in the game. How about you don't give them halb as well, right? Makes things a little more awkward for them. It also makes life awkward with what you would normally combine with hand cannons, with like hand cannons and then halberdier. You could have done any number of things to the Civ because they kind of had it all. But I'm glad they didn't change the villager cost bonus because that was something that the Civ always had. I don't think that should be changed because the devs added a bunch of other things. So they're dressing the Gulam and then they're not getting halb, which means you might be forced to play into camels in situations where it doesn't feel as strong. So yeah, it's tricky. Obviously, if your opponent goes like heavy skirmisher, you still have your own skirms, you still have bombard cannon, you still have hussars, you still have a lot of great options. But this makes Hindustanis weaker. I still think they'll be like one of the most OP civs in the game. At least they have less options now, so we'll see. Also, I really didn't like the fact, like I still think this civ needs some work, but I don't want to talk like I don't want to talk too much about these civs because honestly I get a little bit anxious about it and I'm just going to move on. Koreans, Elite War Wagon, Cav Archer armor reduced from 0 to -1. So I believe this change is like, the tricky thing about the War Wagon is if you get to a crazy mass of it, it's really hard to kill. Even Elite Skirmishers can struggle against it. So I think they're trying to make it a bit easier to kill the wagon while not completely nerfing it. So I think that this is a good change overall. It still makes me sad to look at civs that have existed for a long time, like the Koreans and whatnot, and look at their state compared to the civs that are above it and just all the bonuses the devs added to those civs. But truthfully, Koreans have always been a bit of a niche civ, a bit of more of like a Black Forest or arena civ, not necessarily a civ that was meant to be versatile in the first place. That makes sense. This is a deathmatch change, which should have no effect here or in normal games. Saracen market minimum buy price. I think they referenced this earlier, right? Minimum buy price is now reset. Not the biggest deal. Saracen market is still very, very strong. Bonus damage resistance for land military units reduced from 50% to 33%. I like this change. I've said with anything that was 50%, I was like, it's a balanced nightmare. And I've talked about this ever since Sicilians came in. They have a unique tech for their Cavalier, which makes them super tanky. But they also resist bonus damage. So, like, the fact that you resist bonus damage, so the opponent's counter units to what you're making is already less effective, and then you also get a tank tech, like a tankiness tech, just didn't add up to me. It felt like they were double dipping almost. And listen, I'm a big fan of double dipping, right? But not in video games. So I think that this is a good change. Now, where it gets a little weird to me is how we had like this is what I meant earlier. So we've got what was 50%, they changed to 33%. Remember, Sicilians, it's not like they've been stupid broken recently. They are strong. They have some cool things about them, but it's not like Sicilians have been dominating. So they go 50% to 33% on a civ that's been around a bit now. But they go 50% to 40% here, and they go 50% to 40% here. It's just like, it's a little weird. Now, I'm not saying they should have necessarily gone 50% to 33%, but when Gurjaras and Burgundians have been either instant picks or instant bans in tournaments, and there's a lot of conversations about how these civs are OP, why we're seeing a 10% change on those two in those two situations and then a 17% change here, it's just it's a little mind-boggling to me. I don't get it's consistently inconsistent is what I say some of these changes end up being. That's kind of my take on the whole thing. Also, Teuton's losing Treadmill Crane. Sad times on Deathmatch. But okay. And I agree with the comment in chat. Gurjaras are functionally the same and are still a nightmare to play against for sure. and they'll be banned out of tournaments until, at least RM tournaments, until there's more changes, most likely. Okay, so let's look at map balance. Probably small things I won't focus on too much. Fix a rare issue where berries would fail to spawn for one of the players. Okay. Fix an issue in the script which led to inconsistent extra deer spawns. Okay. So, guys, real quick, if you remember the map Four Lakes, which I'm sure you guys know it, you should see the screenshot here. 2.5 years ago, whenever the game came out, they had wolves in the shoreline. And I was very outspoken about how you shouldn't have wolves in the shorelines of water maps because it can be really unfair. One person walks a straight line to their water, they lose a villager to a wolf. Another person doesn't have that same thing happen. It's extra RNG. They should do the same for Scandinavia. Scandinavia's got like 12 wolves on the entire map. And I'm out here recommending people dock because water is such an important part of the game. And wolves are sniping villagers. They should do the same. If they want to be consistent on all their water maps, like there's no, like they do this for all their other maps, I'm surprised they didn't put that here. They'll probably do it next patch because I brought it back up like last month. But okay, islands. It looks like they just made changes to how the things would distribute. So that's cool, I guess. Not a big deal. General AI stuff. I don't think there's anything massive here. Modding. Not a big modder personally, but that's basically it. So to sum up what this patch brought is we brought some balance changes, but it did seem like it had a heavy focus on introducing things for Empire Wars. I am personally concerned, like, as I mentioned before with Empire Wars changes, they've removed the Chinese extra villagers for a reason to, like, whenever it used to have it when Empire Wars came out. And we've got a $200,000 tournament happening in less than 2 months. So if I like, it's possible. Oh, I'll look at the pathfinding. Sorry. It's possible that like that the devs might not have a new patch prior to Red Bull. So like all of these tweaks, I am excited for them, but I'm hesitantly excited. I'm hoping the situation is Red Bull's got their ear. And in the event there's big issues, that the devs are ready to like do balance changes for Empire Wars. But yeah, overall good changes. Like this is massive. Like the general changes I thought were all really good. Elephant archers in a bit of a weird spot. Crossbow and arbalest seemed a bit dominant. As I stated, I would prefer to just see the crossbow increase instead of the arbalest as well, but we'll see. Stonewalls is probably a good change for maps like Arena. And then the general stuff, I don't completely agree with everything they've done, but at least there have been some slight nerfs in some areas, and there's always potential for more. Okay, so you guys mentioned pathfinding. So there was, for 4 months, there was a bug, here we go, where you would give your units a command and they would run back. And it was reported, trust me, like dozens of times. We actually had instances where a player almost lost an important tournament set because of it. Just like really bad examples of it. And I think this is it. Units no longer go a few tiles in the opposite direction after receiving a movement task when they were previously chasing a unit with the attack command. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. So if that's actually fixed, that's awesome. Fix an issue to avoid villagers going idle when gathering resources near walls. Okay, that's nice. Fix an issue that caused villagers to return their food to the town center instead of a newly built mill close to a berry bush. Okay, that is very specific. Fix an issue that caused villagers to return their food to the town center instead of a newly built mill. Oh, I actually know what that is. Come to think of it, I think I've experienced that. Scout units are not able to pass through any kind of foundations anymore. Oh, that's good. Anymore. Now, you know how it goes. Anytime there's a patch and they fix something, it feels like a couple other things break. So I'm a little bit hesitant, and we always get scared. I saw a tweet from Tato. It was in Spanish. I can't speak Spanish, but Tato, I translated it because Twitter did that, and Tato said, I wonder what new bugs we're going to have. And then Jordan made a joke and said something along the lines of, I bet you the pathing is fixed, in quotes. There's not a ton of faith at times with the new patches, but then normally a hot fix can sort it out. So I hope if there are any issues, they will fix it soon after. The big things, though, like that do excite me is the roadmap that they gave us, they actually delivered on, which is a pleasant surprise. Remember, we had to bug them for this roadmap to actually happen. We got a rematch shortcut. I'll be really excited to see, well, cast rematches and like at all levels, and see how this benefits my play. I think that would be a really fun thing to have. The in-game ranked map voting hasn't happened yet. I think it'll happen in like a week. I'm excited for people to actually be able to vote in-game because I never did the voting because I had to log into the Age of Empires website. And personally, that was a pain because it would never keep me logged in. And I'm full-time Age of Empires, so I can only imagine other people. So those two things are awesome, and then the balance changes were all right. According to this, in the fall, it says popular mods is in-game setting. I'm just going to assume that means like no snow or something is just going to be in the in-game options. Kind of like I think small trees and grid mod is right now. Like, where do I go? Options. I don't even know. I should know this. Hold on. I think they're just going to add more here. Where is it, guys? This is embarrassing. So that's really good change. That's not something that regular players will get super excited about overall. But if you think about the amount of times that they push an update out and then you have to re-add all your mods, if they could add all like 10 important ones here, like no snow, grid mod, small trees, if they had all that stuff here, that would be a big, big lifesaver for me. Okay, something different and unknown, ... Okay, that's not a roadmap. That's a tease. Okay. It's someone's birthday, isn't it? Again, that's a tease, okay? I don't even know whose birthday it is. Is my birthday coming up? No, it's not. More balance changes. Woohoo. So, I didn't make a follow-up video when they released their roadmap. I'm not hugely impressed with the roadmap as a whole, but I did at least deliver on one, and we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, I think it's awesome that we at least have these conversations. It wasn't too long ago that we had no official support whatsoever, whether that was tournament sponsorship or updates. So while I am hard on the devs, and well, I wouldn't say I'm hard on them. I've been really hard on them in the past. I hope I'm not as bad these days. I think I have a more even-keeled outlook. Anyways, long story short, I'm just happy that we get to have these conversations. And it does feel like we are slowly going the right direction, with a lot of the things that I haven't think has been good for the game over the last 4 or 5 months. So we will see. I'm excited for more, and that's basically the patch. Be curious to hear everyone else's thoughts, and be super curious to see, in particular with Empire Wars, how that's going to affect things over the next 2 months, because Empire Wars is going to be seen more and more in the lead up to the Red Bull event. And then, well, Empire Wars tends to die off after that, and then they'll probably be focused on some other things. So, cool. Okay, what do people have to say? T90, I tried yesterday, the rematch thing. All good, but the rematch isn't ranked. Wait, what? The rematch isn't ranked? Wait. What happens when someone accepts your rematch? This is a big deal. If you do a ranked game, the rematch has to be ranked, right? You're kidding me. I don't know. I haven't tested. I did try a rematch with someone and then they didn't accept it. Does it send you into a lobby? They can't have it be ranked. People would screw with that and boost elo. Okay, well, there's a simple solution. Just don't let someone rematch more than 3 times in a day or something. Oh my God, it sends you into a custom lobby? I understand you're saying people could abuse it for elo or whatever. But you can't even choose who you queue up against in ranked, right? Let's say you're 1300 and you're up with your buddy who's 1300 and you both queue at the same time. Do you get your buddy? Out of 10 tries, like how many times do you get your buddy? Maybe twice? Maybe once? I guess it's a tricky subject. But why would I queue up for ranked and then not want to rematch on ranked? Yeah. I don't know. I didn't know that. I guess I have to process that. If I wanted to play who I wanted to, I would just create a lobby anyways. You know what the funniest thing is? If I create a lobby to play a 1v1 with somebody and we play, we then have to create a new lobby manually to rematch them. So they should use this rematch feature, that quote unquote feature. And they should make it so after you play somebody, you go back to the same lobby. Okay. All right.